Hi everyone. I'm so sorry. I totally got like my Zoom links all crossed.
Hi Marlon, it's good to have you. No problem. I think we might as well start now then,
Yes.
if you are ready. Let me just.
I am. Yeah. Did you see my my pictures that I sent you of things just like not working?
It was a technical difficulties day, but welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to the Builder. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited. I'm very glad Marlon made it because he's got some share with us today. So since he's here and I'm here and all technical difficulties appear to be over, I'm going to hand over to Marlon now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tamron. Thank you for inviting me. Really, really excited to be sharing some of my learnings and my research findings that I've seen in the marketing world, trends, and it's been really interesting just learning about, using these strategies because, as we know, technology is fast moving. And with all these changes that are happening, if we're not adapting, if we're not firstly understanding core principles, which will always kind of stand, and then being able to navigate this fast changing world of technology, then we can't, really plug these things into our business that can help us. Just a quick sort of litmus test. I wouldn't just sort of check with everybody in the room. I see some people I know, some people I don't. Would love to just connect with everyone and just check in. What type of businesses do we have in the room? Would you mind just sharing, if you just jump in the chat and just say what business you do and where you from? See, Linda's in the room, Janine, that's awesome. I want to just check out see the chat is all the way on the other. Counting Midrand, awesome. Business coach in Johannesburg. Hey, Linda. Coaching in Germany. That's awesome as well. Consulting. Awesome in Johannesburg. So good array of businesses. And yeah, all of you, I'm assuming you're online, right? Virtual assistant, yep, definitely helping business owners with sales process as well, based in Johannesburg. Thank you, Janine. So, just to also just check with everyone in the room so I can have a good idea of just how to just shift this so that it's really relevant to you. Just want to check, just before I get to you, Linda, in terms of your business, let's just say one for everybody who's got a very strong online strategy, and two if you don't. In the meantime, while that sort of comes in, one if you got a really strong online strategy, two if you don't, and then just while that's happening, Linda de Pavia, if you don't mind, I see you got your hands up. Do you wanna say what you want to say? You got your hand up. So maybe just unmute yourself and talk to me. Us. Okay.
Unless the hand is up by mistake, Linda.
Oh, is it by mistake?
I think it might be by mistake.
Yeah, Zoom and on the phone is not always that easy to handle.
Okay, definitely a mistake. Okay, cool. All right. So quite a number of twos. There's like one in the room, which is really awesome. So we're gonna pull from you, Linda Dent, and really just see like how these strategies could work for you. If you're implementing some of them, it would be great to know what you're actually doing that works. And if you've maybe found the same things. Now, if it's okay, guys, I'd love for this to be a bit more interactive because we're a nice group. We should have a back and forth and really just see, how this, like, really make this work for you. So look, the power of technology and where it's taking us, is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about strategies that you must already be implementing, and I'm going to share with you a bit of a framework on how you can grow and scale. I mean, there's some accountants, there's all different types of businesses here. I'm not sure what type of consulting Benjamin does, but I mean, we all want to grow. Maybe you want to grow and scale your business, and technology is a great way to do that. So one of the trends that, and you guys love to get your feedback on this, is that it's all about conversational marketing. And, I think so, Janine, you've been in one of my sessions like this, and there's been a lot of change since I actually noticed this specific trend just around communication, and especially fast communication. Like now, how many of us in this room do a lot of business on WhatsApp, right? You like, literally, that's how people want to communicate. They just want to get that fast information, even sending the invoices over WhatsApp. It's like, it's weird how things have just shifted from, even though email is really the most professional way, it is also the bulkiest way of sending the most useless or unused words, unnecessary words in communication. Now, when you're sending something over WhatsApp or the shorter form of communication, you really just need to get to the heart of what you're talking about so that you can help someone. It's funny, I use this exact same strategy to upsell a client and just get that it actually already walked out the door. We had stopped doing business, but then in quick communication, hey guys, just messaging the directors and saying, listen, I know you have this problem. If it could be solved in this way, would that be something you'd be keen on looking at? And just with the law of averages, one completely ignored my message. The other one said, hell yes. And in fact, you can go ahead and start that thing right now. So today, if you're not doing some form of immediate, if you don't have something that if you got a barrier between you and your customer and you're allowing that barrier to be email, you are losing. You potentially, if you don't have something that sort of allows them to get back to you quickly, allows you to get back to them, allows your staff to get back to them really fast, you're losing an opportunity. As my wife likes to say, time kills deals. So you really, really want to just shorten that time frame. And because we have such short attention spans, and because our attention is being pulled in all sorts of directions today, if we don't have this type of strategy in play, it doesn't work. There's another component which I alluded to when I was talking to Janine, and that was that I've found a nice strategy that one could employ if they, does anyone do ads? And I actually spoke to Linda about this once. Does anybody in the room do ads? Yes, if you do ads, no, if you don't. Do you run any ads to your business? No, yes. Okay, awesome. Benjamin, are they expensive? Yes. Okay, so what if there was a way that you can actually use conversation in your marketing as well as reduce your ad costs over a period of time? Would that be something you would actually think about? You could maybe even, are you running your own ads? It's the first good question to ask. Are you running your own ads, or do you have an agency running it for you? Yes, you're running your own ads, I'm assuming. So if you're running your own ads, then this strategy is a really great one. Instead of trying to drive them somewhere, keep them in whatever platform you're using, and rather use that to start a conversation. Because if you can do that, you'd be blown away. I'm literally trying that with another side hustle I have. I sell martial arts goodies on the side. I've been doing it for years. and COVID kind of killed that whole vibe around sports. And then now I'm like reigniting it. We're bringing in stock. So I literally posted yesterday, samples have arrived, and my inbox got flooded with people, 10, 15 people saying, hey, your stuff, I want, tell me prices. And I'm like, guys, I don't know prices yet. I'll only know when the stuff lands. But you know what? Give me your details. I got you on Facebook. We'll be in contact. Now the next step is to keep that communication up. So if you're running ads, you do the same sort of plan. But the whole purpose is not to drive them off of Facebook or from wherever you are busy driving that traffic. You keep them in the conversation. You ask them, like I'm asking you, is it working for you? How would you like this to work for you? And then when you're having the conversation, you go into their messenger, into LinkedIn Messenger, wherever it is you're trying to speak to them, and you continue that conversation, driving it to a sale. Does that make sense? Just let me know if everyone. So a really strong strategy. Some people call it the two-step. It's really, really, really cool. Awesome. So look, again, it's like if we're going to be talking about technology, people tend to think, okay, it's all about automation. It's not necessarily, right? We need to still have this really real conversation with people. We need to be real. And especially, I know there's this world of Instagram, and I know some people that actually they spend their time going to luxury places to go and rent that space out so that they can pretend that that's the type of lifestyle they lead. And that we're not in that world. We're in a whole new world where people are aware of these things, and we just need to just be really honest. You can be a one-man army, one-woman army, because that's the reality of it. And people will do business with you if you are honest. A simple example of that is that my supplier, I was keeping them hidden all this time. Up until today, I've actually told everyone, no, we're partners. We work together. This is where I get all my stuff, because that relationship is solid. And because of that honesty, people have like literally come and said, you know what, I'm going to buy from you. So you'd be surprised if you can keep it relevant, keep it honest, and keep it real. Because honestly, we prefer to communicate with people that can come and say, hey, Benjamin, you know, I noticed the last time, I mean, this is what Amazon does really well, but from an AI perspective, last time you bought this, other people within your other wish list, this was there, you might like this. And you see that's really a personalized journey. They put a lot of thought into that. And when you can do that on a one-to-one basis, you can start to think about how can I actually now get a machine to start taking over some of those things. So really want to keep it super human-centric, right? So yeah, with that said, we are moving into the age of caring, which is very interesting because at the same time, people, they, excuse the bad word, they smell the bullshit. So you gotta be, people want to spend money with people that they actually care about. And today we are moving into this world where privacy is important. I mean, my computer was asking me, can I give permission to the speaker, to the freaking different parts of my computer? Was asking for permission of use of different other parts of my computer. I found that really nuts happening at the same time. So while that is happening, that's also happening with our data. So for what that means for us as marketers, Benjamin might know this because he's running a lot of ads and he probably has pixel data. I don't know, does everybody in the room use Google Analytics? Yes? Yes, if you do Google Analytics, do you understand your Google Analytics? Because it took me a while. I'm asking because I know for a while I was like getting Google Analytics, but then it doesn't mean anything to me. But yeah, okay, so 100%. I mean, so some of you got Google Analytics. The thing is, we're in a world where grabbing data is going to be, especially off of these other platforms, coming into 2022, 23. It's going to be very, very different. Google is scrapping pixels. In other words, you won't be able to track people anymore. If any of you got an iPhone, you know that whole iOS 14 update really changed everything for people that were advertising. For me, it was a huge bummer because I like personalized ads. I don't like the fact that now I'm going to get ads about tractors when I'm really not interested in them. But the thing is, as marketers tend to do, we just mess it up for everybody. So now you got to be a lot more clever about how you pull your data and about how you actually use it. In other words, we need first-party data. We need to find out directly from our customers, directly from our users, what they actually want and how they actually want it. So you're not just going to be giving everybody in your list your email, send them the newsletter, because they might not be interested in that newsletter. They might be in that thing just specifically because they opted in for something that you were talking about, but now you're sharing everything with them. We have to be more responsible. We have to care actually about what our customer actually wants. And if we do it in the right way, in marketing terms, it's called segmenting that audience. If you communicate to the people what they actually want, you're going to do more. You're going to make more money. And I found it. Literally, people, does everybody send emails in this, in the group? Because I know I spoke about Messenger and all that stuff. Awesome. I see there are some people that send messages, send emails, still work. Email's not dead. They work. It works really well. It's the most professional way of communicating with your customers. There are a lot of them that we receive, but you find, I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't take an email from their customer seriously. Or so you always you're on your emails, you're paying attention, and your spam box might work really well with some others, but it still works. So it's really important. So like I said, Google's moving into the stage of removing all of that stuff. So you really want to be careful with it. You want to be able to, does everybody do content marketing? Because that's a that's another thing. I want to ask the accountants in the room, who does content marketing with your firm? Yes? Content marketing, yes or no? Sort of. Awesome. At least you're trying, because it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to stay consistent. It's hard to continuously put out content, think up ideas, etc. Oh, Benjamin does. That's awesome. On LinkedIn, yeah. How easy is it, Linda? Is it easy? Is it hard? Yeah, exactly.
It's difficult to be consistent, hey, Marlon. I have to sit for a period every month and develop a bit of a strategy for the month, and then get all the content together and then schedule it. And so it's quite difficult.
No, 100%. But once you actually start to get a bit of a cadence, once you start to develop it, would love to know from exactly. Benjamin says it's time consuming. I was about to ask you, Benjamin. So it does get super time consuming. You need to develop a process around it so that doesn't become an issue in your world. One thing I would just suggest you, okay, I was going to say don't do it, but then I'm thinking again, you can do it. You can get an agency to do it. But what I would suggest you do is really spend more of your time, even though you're hiring someone to do it, spend time with them figuring out what the hell they're doing. Because if you can get really clear on what their processes are to help you create your content, you can direct them on how to create it. They build it. You understand why they're building it in that way. And then you just let them carry on. So you know what you're paying for. You know, what the deliverables out of that is. So you know, I get X amount of content pieces, and those content pieces are going to go out on such and such day. This is the copy that will go with all of that. You don't write all the copy. All you do is really just reading and editing. And you've already directed the narrative from the beginning, because if you own the narrative, you own the core message. And if you own the core message, that's going to help you. But at the end of the day, content marketing is the cheapest way that you're going to get yourself out there. There's a thing that they call top of funnel marketing. Now, I don't want to get into jargon because that's another thing that everyone, like, we always make the mistake with. So if you imagine a funnel upside down, right? And at the top of that funnel would be the widest piece. That is right at the top. So that's where people start to become aware of your brand. They start to maybe engage with some of your content. They're seeing you, but they're not really, when I say engage, it's just literally they put an eyeball on something you've put out. As they're paying attention to that, you've got their attention. The more content they see, the more likely that they are going to feel that like that it's okay for them to reach out, perhaps in a way of a like or comment or a forward of that message. Now, the more you do that, the more people see your content, people feel like there's a relevance there. Sooner or later, if you do it well enough, you're going to start pulling people into your ecosystem. And if you've got the right ecosystem, it just creates, it makes it easier for you to pull email addresses, get them to get in contact with you, and then you start a conversation, like a real person-to-person or person-to-salesperson conversation. Does that make sense? Awesome. So the key thing about those messages, is not to make it cluttered, because not to make it complicated. Make it as easy as possible. The easier the message, the higher likelihood that you are going to actually get more people to pay attention. Because why? Because there's just too much information out there. Everybody understands that content marketing is the way. And majority of people are actually not implementing it. But with the glut of information that's already out there, it's very easy to get missed. So just pay attention to that. I see Linda says, as a coach, I feel it's essential to write content myself, but allow others to schedule SEO and add images, etc. 100%. So unless this is the thing, this is the game. Unless you can actually find a team that is able to magnify your voice and use your voice, then it makes sense. That is one of the hardest things, but you kind of need to know already what works. That's why you doing it yourself is a great way, first step. And then once you kind of got that together, you can then start to share it, allow other people into the way you're doing things so that you can outsource it to them. If you had, when you get bigger, Linda, if you had a social media team around you, it's not necessarily you writing, but it must be like you're writing. You know what I mean? So I totally agree with you. And yes, the technical aspects around it, people need to, that's what the team can end up doing. So I think that's definitely getting into some scaling stuff. But yeah, it's really about getting into different channels. Today this is why I'm a bit sad that whole pixel stuff is going away, that the tracking is starting to change. Look, I think to a large degree, it's going to stay, because you can't really stop Facebook from tracking within its platform. It's when it leaves its platform that it's going to be different. So I think even there, Google, those spaces directly inside those spaces, I don't think there's going to be much control over what happens there. But the idea is really if you can keep people in that ecosystem and find clever ways to get them off into your database, then that's the best way to go. But you got to be everywhere these days. You don't necessarily need to post everywhere. That's why if you've got a bit of, I would really love to know, Benjamin, what your strategy is and how you're using it. But I really found a cool way. So to just give you an idea, you could spend about 3,000 Rand on Facebook a month. And then, okay, let's just say your ad spend is 10,000 Rand in total, but it's going across a few channels. So you may be doing 3,000 on Facebook, you're doing another 3,000 onto YouTube. You can do another 3,000 into maybe LinkedIn or Twitter. Twitter, your money will probably go longer. And then now all of a sudden you're on 3 channels. And what you do is you retarget people in those spaces. So I know you've been able to see, for example, you see an ad on Facebook, and then that same sort of banner ad is on another site, and then all of a sudden, you're getting a YouTube video that's on the same person that you saw. It's not by accident. They're doing it on purpose. They've been tracking you from one platform to the next. And if you do it in a smart way, a great example of that is maybe, let's just say you've got 3 lessons that you want to share with someone. Because I have zero idea about counting, let me just talk about that one. So you get how to manage your books, why you shouldn't trust your bookkeeper, and let's just say miss this year's tax season. This is what you need to do next. So let's just say those are the title of your next 3 videos. The way you do it is you can literally have these videos playing on Facebook, and then when video 1 is playing on Facebook, when they maybe get to YouTube, video 2 is playing for them. So it's reminding them it's not the same information, something a little bit different, something a little bit, but it's something that will also give them a ton of value. And then when they're getting onto Twitter or LinkedIn, they're seeing the other video. So you literally are playing this, and when people are, depending on how far they go, now this is when it starts getting a bit tricky. I don't know how much everyone understands about ads, but then there's a way that you can set it that depending on how far they've watched that video, they will then see the next video. And then that allows them to interact. And if you do it right within the video, asking them to share specific information with you, you can actually build out a product, build out a service, learn from them, speak to them directly in the messages, in the chat. So that is a great strategy. And just talking again around how you can be everywhere on quite a small budget. And if you did that over about 6 months, I'm willing to guarantee that you would have definitely got the right sort of client. You would have. And if you didn't know what type of audience, you would have built that audience up within that period of time. So then when you go back to market, if you wanted to market direct, you're going number 1 to a warm audience. Number 2, you're going to a fully targeted audience. And number 3, they're educated. Those are the best type of clients. So does anyone have any questions or any thoughts right now on what I've shared at the moment, before I start getting into the craziness? Yeah, we're all good. Okay. Cool. So everyone's with me? Yes? Just yes. Does content have to be video? No, definitely not. Your content doesn't have to be video. Your content could be an article. Your content could be, because people like to consume content in various ways. I just think video is the easiest way to consume the content, because even today, even if there's a video, I watch it with no sound. I don't know about you guys, but I do that. I find it strange too. so it's just, it's silent, because sometimes it's quiet. And so there we go. So it's okay, at least I'm not the only one. But so at the end of the day, yes, you can write an article, and you can set those articles up in that way. Obviously, YouTube, it's a different story. You could do that same sort of strategy on LinkedIn, which will work very well. Great space. And I think actually, if you had to do it, and you could even implement that same sort of strategy on Instagram, but it would look different. So for example, you'd have an article on Facebook. You'd have a retargeted slideshow on LinkedIn, for example. And then on Instagram, it'll be a different type of slideshow, the swipe left sort of a things. So you can actually just, infographic it, just make it more interactive, but the same sort of content, and people will consume it. And again, they'll be educated. And if the lead, especially in Instagram, if the lead is your goal is to tell them, DM me and to find out more, whatever the case is, they will go directly into your direct message to communicate with you. Okay, so great question. Now we're talking about machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now, guys, does everybody, I know there's coaches in the room, but does everybody know a man by the name of Tony Robbins? Yes? Okay, awesome. So you know what Tony Robbins' plan is to do, his next generation thing that he's going to do. He's planning, we're talking about scaling now, right? Because that's what machine learning is going to help us do. If we can basically get a small algorithm, plug it into our business, as it is already, whatever it is that you wanted to pay attention to, and you wanted to understand certain metrics. Like already, I mean, you got accountants in the room, you can probably pull out a ton of reports just based on where the business is, right? Financially, where's suppliers, if I had a specific question around my suppliers, or how I'm spending money, or what could optimize, things like that. That's where machine learning really comes into play. Now, and today we got access to all of this. IBM Watson is a great place to go in. If you understand spreadsheets, you can actually start a free account and you can plug in your spreadsheet. I mean, a lot of us actually, we take the Google Analytics, even though they've got their own machine learning in that space where you can actually ask it questions. When do I get the best viewers? What is the longest period of time that people stay on my website? Those types of questions, you can ask the machine and it will tell you. Now, what some people do is they got specific algorithms that is in IBM Watson, for example. Does everybody know IBM Watson? Who knows what? Okay, yes, we have two people that know IBM Watson. So Watson is one of the best artificial intelligence machines on the planet. They basically, what they did was they took the internet, fed it into it like a small percentage of it, and then unplugged it from any information. After that, let the machine algorithm sort of run, and they made the machine play the game. It wasn't Trivial Pursuit. It's that American game where they asked the question. I've forgotten the name of the game now. Oh man, what's that? Does everyone know that game that they play in America? Oh gosh. Anyways, so there's this game show, very famous game show. Basically, what happens is they ask you they give you the answer, and you must give them the question. And Watson played with two other past champions. And what ended up happening is that Watson started losing, but after a period of time started understanding the cadence of the questions, started doing some predictive analyzing, and eventually crushed the two humans. And that was like a major shift in how technology can be played. Because I mean, it wasn't connected to the internet anymore, which means it was starting to learn by itself. And this is the power of that technology we have for our small businesses. If you're willing to take time to understand how IBM Watson works and the various applications of which you can use it, I would really look at trying to do that. Today, I mean, Linda was talking about writing her own content. Jarvis, they've changed their logo now. Jarvis, you don't have to necessarily write everything. Jarvis is connected to the internet and it predicts the stuff for you. You just tell it basically what you want, and it pulls all the stuff for you, and then you just rewrite the content as you would prefer. Active Campaign, okay, I don't know what's going to happen with that. So Active Campaign is that blue, the blue one next to Jarvis. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole deep learning, where these systems are all connected into things like Facebook, because basically what it can do is it can tell you, let's just say Rhonda had to come into my email. So Rhonda connects to me through opting into one of my stuff. And because I see her in my system, it already picks up that Rhonda's got a Twitter account and shows me that Twitter picture. Now, for me, that's like a bit of a mind blower because, you know, obviously, I don't even know if Rhonda's using the same email. She might be, you know, that's associated to that account. But then how does ActiveCampaign know, you know? So that blows my mind in terms of how that happens. But, you know, all of the stuff is open to each other and they're using the machine learning in that way. So you can really, I mean, and this is really available to us. So you can start to think about applications for yourself and how you can actually use that to drive messages. Because you can also then use that you can use these tools to find what's most relevant out there. Bring that in. Things like Google Alerts. I do that quite often. I have a Google Alert. It's free. You just go and Google and type Google Alert, and then you search a specific key phrase. That phrase gets sent to you every single day, fresh articles about that specific key phrase you're looking for. And then you can pick out your news, pick out what you want to learn and read it, and perhaps even use that as content that you want to share with your user base. So it's really, 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 really cool. Yeah, so that's about that. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the 6 Ds of exponential growth. And what this gentleman, one of my real heroes, I follow this guy. I don't know, does anybody know who Peter Diamandis is? No? If you don't know who Peter Diamandis is, he's a rocket scientist, but he is so smart. One of the smartest men on the planet. Oh, I was telling you about Tony Robbins earlier. So the only reason why I know about Tony Robbins, this thing that Tony Robbins is doing, is because he is one of the guys that's been pushing Tony Robbins, and they together started to come up with this stuff, you know, their influence on each other. So what Tony Robbins is doing, he is a personal coach. He helps people push past their boundaries, tap into the deepest part of themselves through NLP and all these other shenanigans he gets up to. The thing is, he has been doing this for so long. He is the most successful coach on the planet. He's got patterns and systems that he's created over his lifetime. They are feeding that into an algorithm. That algorithm is now going to be your personal coach. So you're going to have Tony Robbins. Now think about this. We're moving to the future where holograms is not an issue. So we really have the Tony Robbins AI version that is not only grabbing all the stuff from the past, but it's learning you, Janine, you, Linda. It's learning you, and it's talking about this is what you tend to do. Now, isn't that like amazing for a coach? Now, imagine you got the ability of Tony Robbins, but inside a machine. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even know if other coaches will have jobs because that just blows it out the water. That means you can be everywhere at once. This is what technology can do for us. And yeah, I think there'll be lots of business for everyone. So just by the way on that. But so yeah, Peter's one of the, he's a futurist. He understands where the world is going, and he was most well known for the X Prize. Now the X Prize was him. So as a student in varsity, he ended up creating a $10 million prize for people that could solve the problem of going to the moon. By the way, he didn't have the money. He was dead broke. And he created a $10 million prize. And he also started a university with where he had the land was sponsored and donors paid for the university. He had people actually coming to give him money to build his university. And as a student, by the way. So and obviously he had to break a lot of rules. And Peter, he's created that Singularity University, and now he runs that. So he has various prizes that happen at every period of time. And I mean, these prizes, obviously, it's $10 million, so it lasts really long. And interestingly enough, most people spend more than the X prize to actually win the $10 million. Crazy, right? It's absolutely nuts. Talking about thinking out the box. So one of my heroes, there's a process of how you can actually scale. And it goes through these various things. So the first step is digitization. Now, if anybody here, I know Tamron works with people around process and process innovation. So the first step is always to get it out of your head onto paper, right? From paper, you're going to now put it onto the computer. So it has to digitize. The next step, what ends up happening is that process can be extremely slow. So it goes through this process of deception where things start to look like, no, man, because you're turning it to the ones and zeros, it starts to look deceptively slow. And why? Because there's a whole lot of disruption that's going on. Now, if you are trying to implement any process and you're doing that with employees, I don't know how many of you have tried that. That's when things get really complicated, because one of the worst things to change is a human being, or the hardest things to change is another human being, let alone yourself. That process of disruption starts to ensue. What ends up happening is it starts to demonetize. It becomes cheaper. Why? Because think about it. If I'm turning certain processes into a digital thing, and I get an application that can actually do it for me, it becomes a lot cheaper because I'm removing the need for a human in that space. And I'm just using it from our specific, what we're talking from a small business perspective. But if we're talking about this, think about it in the form of a product, it will work exactly the same way. And then what happens is you got the dematerialization, what ends up happening is, the disappearance of things, needing less things. We're talking about office automation today. How many things do you need you don't need to, you can wirelessly plug your printer to your computer. Everything's in the cloud these days. Those types of things, everything just starts to disappear. And then things start to become democratized. And again, costs drop all the way. You can really run an efficient business. Today, you can actually run your business really from your phone if you've done it right. So if you notice, this is exactly what happens to anything that becomes disruptive in the market. And if you actually notice these steps that it's going through, you'll see that it's actually natural. Once you can get to democratization, you're going to scale, because already things are much, much cheaper. Cloud computing is much cheaper than it's ever been, which means more people are online than ever before. It is really, really nuts how these same things 10 years ago were 100 times more expensive. So definitely some special mentions. And it just gets a bit weirder from here on out, depending on your own sort of background. Today, we're in the world of NFTs, and honestly, it's going way faster than I even understand. Cryptocurrencies and things like that's just wild, but the NFTs is even wilder for me. Does anyone understand NFTs in this room? Kinda. Linda?
Kinda. I know it means non-fungible something.
Token, yes.
And I know it kind of makes sense with art, but that's about it.
Well, it's not only about art. At the moment, it's just about, actually, it's more, the way I understand it, that it's more about people that are investing in those vectors are people who are trying to make money off the movement of that. So it's more like how to explain it? It's more just that they are trying to make money out of what other people find important. and they are trading with that or holding on to it just based on that. It's just all about that at this moment in time in terms of that. But what I see as really, really important, how this can actually be relevant to all of our businesses, is because I kind of worked with a band on this, on their whole thing, because they released their own song. But the idea is that you, as Linda, as Janine, as Rhonda, you actually own that token. You're not like, it's not like you own the digital version, because when you buy something, when you buy an NFT, you're buying like however many things, but you own it. You own that thing. I don't know if that's even making any sense, but you own it, right? And we all own it. But the rarer it is, the more it rises in value. If you're a coach, if you're somebody that maybe even does live events, and you give something rare in your space that people can buy NFTs to, that always increases in value based on the seat, based on the prestige of the event, people will consistently want to hold on to that NFT, and others will want to buy into it. And that's going to end up making it the more prestigious your event, the more prestigious the seat, and therefore your investment. Does that make sense? So you just put it out there. They're doing it in property. It goes everywhere. So if you want to look into the future of where your business could be, or what you could be investing in, really have a look at some of that at this moment in time. The Metaverse is, again, another thing. The Metaverse, I'm really excited about that. It's just a different space that a lot of people are going to end up staying in. It also can be a bit scary because it's another world within reality. And really, I mean, if you can own property there and you can live there and you can transact there, why do I need to be here? You know, so is that whole dilemma is going to happen. But there's a lot of opportunity in that space. We're going to own more things in the metaverse than we will in real life. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, there's certain things will be cheaper. It'll be easier to get to. We're going to use cryptocurrency to be able to buy things. Companies that are forward thinking are going to, like, a friend of mine, he's busy building a software, and it's basically based in business management. And one of those key metrics in business management, in building any business, is the growth and learning of your employees. Now, how does one track that, and how does one get incentivize growth? Because a lot of employees don't want to learn, they don't want to grow. So how do you actually make it that they do? You incentivize it. So you can incentivize it within the metaverse. So you can buy your avatar sneakers, for example, if you actually go and finish this course, for example. So you know, like, you can buy your most cheers, Rhonda. Thanks very much. You can buy whatever it is that you're looking for in the metaverse for your avatar. For example, if you know what your customers want, if you know what your employees want. So the last thing is the shopping. Now, this is a big, hey, in China especially, this is huge. We're talking about online shopping. Does anybody know QVC, American QVC? We were talking about, like, if we take it back, it was the infomercials. You know, the infomercials? You remember? I don't know if we still do it, if we still have it in South Africa. Like, in the morning, you'd have the Verimark things, and that it would just run, and you could dial the number and call. Do they still have them? I don't know. I don't watch TV anymore. Okay, most of you guys don't watch TV either. So now, which is really pumping, if you're in the shopping industry, oh wow, if you even, I mean, just think about it like this. You could get somebody that is fairly well known, has a bit of a following. You drive a live video of them sporting the kit, that you want them to sport, and you can literally have live auctions on those pieces. It is, I don't have the picture here in this slide. No, I don't have the picture, but I wish I could show you how crazy it is. Go after this and Google it, like just Chinese QVC, and you will be blown away. We're talking about millions of people watch this stuff and they're buying things like crazy. In the shopping world, it's going to be big. So in terms of, I would say everybody kind of needs an e-commerce product, you know, like an e-commerce site or invested in one in some sort, because we're never going to stop shopping for stuff. And I think it's a good sort of side hustle. If you don't have to manage it yourself, but maybe you know where you're sourcing the products or you invested in the business somehow. I think it's a good thing because we're always buying stuff. So this is really huge. Shopping is massive. I don't know, does anyone want to touch on that before I sort of close on that, on the whole thing? Yeah, it's a bit nuts. It's a bit crazy. And I try to just keep it slimmed down, but it's really crazy what's happening at the moment. Yeah, the shopping thing, I think everyone should have a look at it. It's really worth it. The last thing I sort of want to leave you with is that is maybe on a bit of a more serious note. There's this man over here. His name is Buckminster Fuller. For anybody who studied him, he was known as Bucky. Bucky Fuller, and he created that geodesic dome that is behind him there, and he said, like, where we are reaching at this moment in time as humanity is a space. Well, we're all reaching the singularity. Does everyone know what the singularity is? Singularity is where humans where technology surpasses human capability. And as that convergence starts to happen, there is a much bigger responsibility, because already, I mean, Bucky, like in the 1960s already was saying that today what we need to do, we already have enough resources to feed every single human being on the planet, to solve all the problems. We have enough. The problem is distribution is bad. We're not distributing it correctly. And the responsibility and what technology has done is allowed us to sort of equalize that whole process. Today, like I was talking about the IBM Watson and all those things, I mean, that type of technology we never could have thought about before. What is changing now is that we have the responsibility. We're getting to this point where we're getting to the final, what does he call it? Well, I wrote these like final moment there, but there's this point where we are just reaching the final exam, where we are going to actually see whether us as a human race continue or whether we're going to just blow ourselves up into oblivion. And it's really up to us, people like us, businesses like you, that sort of helps that happen. And one, just by being more conscious, being more aware of these types of things, of these types of technologies, taking advantage of them and using them in a way that actually uplifts other people around you, and educates as many other people as possible. And just using and distributing the wealth, the knowledge, and the information better. So yeah, I leave you with that. And oh wait, there's a last sort of thing just around how to implement sort of all of that, right? If we're going to be talking about how do we change as a society, we moved from sort of the hunter-gatherer space into what they call the fourth industrial revolution. And the Japanese actually, they coined this whole entrepreneur 5.0, where we are now living in a space where data and technology and Internet of all things and AI technology actually makes our lives simpler, because we come from a world where we're all about the doing do. I have to go, okay, I need to make something happen. I'm going to go do with my two hands. And we are moving to a world where, you know, the computers get to do that for us. So what happens with the space? You know, now how do we transact? How do we actually help each other? And this is where I find where we're moving to and how we have this responsibility to share in the right way with each other. So yeah, you can do this in a very, very simple way. How does that relate to your marketing? How does that relate to your engaging? It's really about, remember I was talking about top of funnel down to, so that whole top of funnel thing, you can look at it in 8 simple steps. The first step is making people aware. When you make them aware of you, you can then engage with them. When you engage with them, you like, you know, comment here, whatever, they tend to subscribe. If they subscribe, they convert. If they convert, yeah, I'm excited. I just bought this doohickey. And then when I bought doohickey 1, I can buy doohickey 2. And, you know, actually, it doesn't work unless you buy the whole thing, right? How many times have we found ourselves in that situation? We buy the whole package or the whole, what you call it today, if we go into fast food, it's buying the meal, right? Then you advocate for it. And when you advocate for it, these are testimonials, and then people are willing to promote. Yes, I'll make McDonald's join me, right? So the thing is, the beautiful thing about these simple steps is that you can actually go backwards. So if people are not willing to give you a testimonial, you just got to excite them. If people are not, if they're not excited, you got to then just engage them. If they're not willing to convert, if they're not buying, you just got to engage more. So how many of us, and I know Janine's like in the space of sales, so like how many of us just give up after someone doesn't convert? When actually we just needed to go back and engage and see what did we need to get them to subscribe again to the stuff we're selling and then get them to convert. So I really love this process, you know, of thinking, because it just brings everything back, because it's like a pipeline. And if the pipeline's stuck, then, you know, you can always go back to that. So I'm open for Q&A. Would love to have a chat with you guys. I see there's a Facebook thing here, but you can ignore that. But yeah, I really enjoyed having a conversation with you, sharing the stuff with you. Let me know, yeah, any questions? Oh, awesome. Thank you, Linda.
Marlon, I think it's so much for people to think about, to be honest. There was a lot of insight and some really interesting things happening, especially in the area of AI. I don't know if I'm excited or terrified, to be honest.
Me too.
Me too. I mean, it's great for marketers, but not so much for the rest of us. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, but I think, Tamarin, it's good to be aware of these things. It doesn't mean you must leap in and follow the crowd like Bitcoin and, you know, cryptocurrency or whatever. I think you've got to make your, you know, understand it and then perhaps dip your toe in some way, and figure out if it does have a place in your business or not. But to be ignorant and to ignore it is not a good way to do business, right? Because that's how Kodak went out of business. That's how Nokia is not so well known any longer. You know, there's a lot of discarded big companies on the pile because they just ignored and said, no, that doesn't fit in my business.
Blockbuster.
Yeah. There's hundreds of them, right? Yeah, there's hundreds of companies on that discard pile that ignored what was going on in their world. So yeah, as scary as it is, I think it's at least essential to be aware of it and understand it to a degree. And if you think it works, dip your toe in some way, you know. Yeah, sorry, Marlon, I'm just
so valid. No,
my 2 cents here. Yeah.
No, you're so right. And this is exactly this session is really just about us talking about it. I totally agree with you, Linda. I think it's very easy to become, you can very quickly become irrelevant, especially in a day and age where even if you don't own Bitcoin, you can accept it as a form of payment. We're not even saying that you need any sort of formal bank account, but you can accept it with the technology we have today.
Right.
So why not? You know, those are like one of those things. A simple thing, my mother-in-law, she was saying to me how she hates paying by card because she gets charged twice. She went to the shop, got charged twice for something. And only when she got home, she realized, wait a second, this is more than, and then she had to go all the way back, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know what, if I had to pay cash, and I thought about it, it's like, if she had to pay cash, should have given them the less money because in her mind, she knew how much she was spending. And she wouldn't have just swiped the card, right? And I was like, that is a very interesting way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that you need to actually, the problem is that you're looking in the wrong places for the wrong information. And that's what these different technologies and these things, they give us perspective. So if you change where you're looking, all of a sudden more insight comes and you can say, oh, I can navigate this a bit better. I can't do it the way I was doing it before. And that's what helps us, I think, to just stay relevant.
By the way, I like Steve's background. It's very cool, Steve.
He's out in the bush, eh?
Yeah, it's even nicer when you realize it's on his farm. He sees that every day.
Wonderful.
Oh, now I'm so jealous, Steve.
That is cool.
Marlon, I have a question.
Awesome session.
Thank you.
I have a question because you gave us so many trends, which, to be honest, my head is spinning. So as a small business owner, if someone's here today or they watch the recording and they have a limited budget and limited time, which trend do you recommend they go with? They put their time and energy into?
The messaging.
Content or messaging?
Messaging. So it's a mixture of both content and messaging. But I would literally, because like I'm gonna even do it now, drive a lot of live content on my personal Facebook profile. And because the reason why, because live itself gets more activity and more reach, right? And then when you're driving that, you intentionally ask people to interact with you to do a small action. And over time, you will gain more reach through the content because it's live. And secondly, you will start to you'll start to communicate with your client base. If not, those people will share it to the more relevant people. So my best go-to is just around the message. I'm really subscribing to the whole idea that, and I'm really starting to understand that the more conversations I have with people, the more money I make.
Yeah. Good one.
Okay. That's helpful.
Thanks, Marlon.
Awesome. Thanks to everybody for joining.
It's such a cool chat, Marlon. I'm saving the chat, speaking of chat, because you got some really nice feedback there as well. So I'll send it to you afterwards. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us and teaching us all this stuff, which I'm going to have to watch the recording again, I think, just to get all of it in, because there was a lot there, but it was really cool. And yeah, and I'm hoping that you're going to come back next month if you're able to. Then you'll be back on the Builder teaching us more about some marketing and sales. So that's going to be really exciting. Earlier, I did put Marlon's website and LinkedIn profile in the chat. So if you are not connected with him, you can. And if you're watching the recording, I will put it underneath the YouTube video as well. And of course, if you are a Business Builder member, you can go look at his profile under expert profiles in the marketing section, and you can connect with him there. I really recommend that you do. You just heard how keen he is to talk to people. And I know when I chat to Marlon, he has a habit of dropping nuggets of information for free. So I would highly encourage you to connect with him and start chats, and he will definitely help you to improve your marketing and your reach. So thank you, Marlon, again. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're going to end a little early, but I really enjoyed the session.
Thank you. Cheerio.
And thank you.
Thank you, Tamrin.
Thank you.